So yeah, I'm a little disappointed in myself. I am, I can't lie.
It's a fine line between thriving and surviving.
When is enough enough?
I was freaking out.
I didn't want to be a survivor story.
And when you cross that threshold into the surviving territory, you could go downhill very, very fast.
So since you have the banks of snow in the winter time, I found this method. Got my 3/4 of a liter, and then I drank some too.
And the second day I was gonna go up kind of to the boundary of where the Frank Church Wilderness starts. Got almost to my destination, and my pack is so heavy, 70 pounds, pretty hard day. I have my inReach and I was gonna recharge it because it was running out of batteries. And I go to recharge it and I realized I forgot the cord. That inReach was my communication device, it was my maps, and it was my SOS. So it was a pretty important tool that I had. Then I had a decision to make, do I go back to Yellow Pine, call my wife, get the cable, or do I just go on and then she would send the cord with a resupply?
I'm trying to make this decision, so if I go on, I just won't track. Michelle will send me the cord.
I got thinking my battery was running out super fast every single day.
And then also too, that's my only map source that I brought, and it's too risky.
And so I ultimately made the decision to go back to Yellow Pine, get the cord, and also take the opportunity to repack.
I'm back. My pack is about 25 pounds lighter. I rethought everything, looked over the maps a whole lot more, reconnected with my family, got to a good mental state, and I'm back.
So I laid out everything and I said, I don't need my helmet. I don't need my goggles. I have a pair of sunglasses. I don't need these tennis shoes because there's no dry ground. Why do I need tennis shoes? Why did I bring those? So little stuff like that, I ended up shedding about 20 to 25 pounds. I was feeling so much better.
Feeling way better than I was previously. Tomorrow, once I get over the pass, I will officially be in the wilderness.
Following day, I went and dropped into Indian Creek, which Indian Creek crosses the threshold of the Frank Church.
This is officially the boundary line of Frank Church. So over this way, Frank Church. And then over that way, not Frank Church.
Like I set up camp early that night. Started a fire.
We'll see if this works. A seer specialist taught me this method over the phone. So thank you, Senior Master Sergeant Gregory.
I was able to ski tour and take a lap. That extra time and energy that you spent to hike up and ski, get a run for yourself, super rewarding.
That was an amazing ski down Indian Creek. I just stayed in the trees and then dropped down. It was really, really fun. This is like why I wanted to come here in the winter, was for that, for the possibility of skiing powder in the Frank Church. So I'm so stoked that I got to do it.
Next day after that was a total ridge walk. I was kind of looking at the miles thinking I could go all the way from Indian Creek to Big Baldy in one shot. I thought it would be easy, but it's very slow.
I'm walking this ridge line. I thought I could get a lot more miles than today, but ridge walking is actually pretty strenuous and tough.
Because I thought, I want to get off of this ridge line. I want to just travel these, you know, these nice gullies. And so I dropped into a place, it's a drainage right by Papoose Lake. And I set up a beautiful camp that night. That was the night when I saw paradise. That was the night when I just thought, I am so lucky to be out here. This is my thing and I'm the only one out here and I love it. That experience alone was worth $1 million. I went up to Big Baldy. Big Baldy, I found the perfect drainage, so I had to drop my pack off at the top and then do a lap and then come back up.
The snow is great, so I'm gonna ditch my pack right here, and then I'm gonna ski down without my pack and then hike back up.
It was kind of a way to celebrate the powder that fell. And it took extra time, but it was just rejuvenating to my soul. When I got around Big Baldy, I saw kind of where the middle fork of the Salmon was. And so I made my way all the way to the middle fork of the Salmon.
Been desperate for a water source. I finally found one. I'm making my way to the middle fork of the Salmon. I think maybe I can get there today.
And that was a really, really hard day because it's a complex array of drainages and ridge lines that you have to contour and then hike up and then contour down.
I made it to the middle fork. That was awful, to be honest.
Finally, I got to the middle fork of the Salmon. I landed in Indian Creek airspace, where the temperatures rise significantly because you're dropping elevation. So it's kind of really relaxing to get to the middle fork of the Salmon. That's when I was kind of doing my research. So what is the weather going to be like? Where am I going? What's the elevation of the next couple of days? That morning when I woke up, I actually texted WALT, the pilot at Arnold Aviation. I said, hey, could you fly me out of here today?
I was initially a little surprised because there's not a whole lot of recreation because it's cold. Occasionally we'll get people fly in and want to go wolf hunting or something like that, but they're, fly into an airstrip, stay within a few miles of the airstrip, camping out, doing their thing, and then fly back out. I gotta admit, I was a little bit surprised to hear that you had skied in there.
It was hard to wrap my head around everything. I mean, this is 90% mental for sure. So I woke up, I was kind of freaking out. There's a big storm coming in tonight, all throughout tomorrow as well. So yeah, I'm a little disappointed in myself.
It's a fine line between thriving and surviving.
I didn't want to be a survivor story. I wanted to thrive.
And when you cross that threshold into the surviving territory, that's when you can go downhill super fast. I have a kid at home, I have a wife. There was too much at stake for me to say, I don't want to take my chances. I want to come back safe. So because just things were unknown for me, that's kind of, I was freaking out. "4 o'clock came and Walt was there with his plane.
It was an awesome trip. I may or may not be back to finish it, but I may just call it here and say that was it.
And then he took me home. I was about halfway done at that point.
Honestly, I feel like mentally I have to get to a place where I'm just fine with whatever happens, and I'm just grateful I'm not out there. But I'm glad that I'm getting texts from him. I said I want 3 texts a day, morning, afternoon, evening, just to make sure you're good. As a mother of a child who's 3, and I think that's part of like the mental struggle, and like why I like really have to gear up. I want him to complete it successfully, but more than all of that, like I want him to be safe. When I'm primarily taking care of our son, like especially while he's on these trips, it puts me in like a pretty vulnerable position. It is high risk, and you know, things happen. I try not to think about it too much, I guess, to be honest.
There's many things that go on in a person that determine the success or failure of outdoor recreation. It's your relationships with your kids, it's your relationship with your husband or your wife or your partner.
Every time he leaves, I just say like, you can go as long as you come home. That's my like main stipulation.
Getting to a point where we felt that we supported one another, where I felt that she supported me and she was rooting me on to finish, it didn't just come all of a sudden.
But knowing that he's like totally enjoying himself and it's like everything he had hoped it would be is the most fulfilling thing to me.
That's a whole nother story that we really haven't touched with outdoor recreation, is what it does to our relationships. The recreation that requires a little bit more of us, a lot of times society looks at as a vagabond lifestyle, a waste of time. I would argue that it's different. We are expressing true freedom.
I think our world, our society needs encouragement to get out in nature more.
So my wife, she was really happy to see me, but then she did question, are you gonna be uneasy because you didn't finish?